ever wondered how these furry overlords came to rule our hearts and minds? If we look into history, we can see that humans domesticated cats not once but twice. For this, we are going to go back to a journey of thousands of years in two crucial moments in human history where the humans and cats formed a bond between each other, reshaping both their lives. Today, let's explore the why and how this happened. Join me in today's journey as we trace the wild history of the domestication of cats. Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel Everything with Dr. James. Today we are going to be dealing with the domestication of cats. To understand the domestication, let's meet the main character Felis silvestris lybica, the African wild cat. These cats are not your regular alley cats. They are formidable hunters suited for arid environments, fiercely independent and solitary by nature. Their structure is such that they have a coat which is typically sandy brown with a faint stripe, perfectly suited for the arid environments in the Middle Eastern and African regions. It is from this untamed lineage that our domesticated cats come from. They maintain some of the wild instincts these African wild cats had. To trace the history of the domestication of cats, let's travel back to the time of the Fertile Crescent, a crescent-shaped land in Middle East 7,500 to 10,000 years back. This was the time when humans were settling down and started using agriculture, growing wheat and barley, not only producing them but storing them. When grains are stored in one place, enter rodents. These mice and rats were wreaking havoc in storage facilities where they were eating all the grains, threatening the very survival of the humans in that area of settlement. Now enter the African wild cats. These cats were agile creatures and they found an easy meal in these rodents and they started eating them. Eventually, humans also found that this was a mutually beneficial relationship. Cats were getting their food and our grains are also getting stored, and the more friendlier varieties of these African wild cats were selectively allowed into these grain storage facilities, and that species started thriving and increasing in numbers. Now see, humans and grains produce rodents. Cats and rodents, lesser rodents. Humans and cats, a win-win situation. This win-win situation and the increase in the number of the friendlier cats can be traced as the first time where we tried to domesticate the cats in history 10,000 years back. The wild cats that were less wary of the human beings and could tolerate the proximity of their settlements were the ones which actually thrived. They passed down these less fearful genes to their offsprings. Humans, on the other hand, seeing this mutually beneficial relationship, allowed the more friendlier cats to thrive. This was a critical example of a natural selection driven by human behavior. The earliest evidence of the first time we domesticated cats can be traced in the area of this Neolithic Cyprus region 9,500 years back, where they found a human being buried along with a cat. This was not just a random burial. This was a planned burial showing the intrinsic relationship between a human being and a cat traced back 10,000 years back. Today in Cyprus, the cat population is more than the human population. This finding bet the initial theory that cats were first domesticated in Egypt, which fascinated scientists. It is important to understand the context in which I am using the term domestication. By domestication, I don't mean 10,000 years back, cats were cuddling in the lap of human beings like today. During that time, the cats were still in the wild, but they grew less fearful of the human beings and they started tolerating the proximity of their settlements more, mainly because of the food in the form of rodents these grain storage facility provided, and they started attacking humans less. This subtle shift in behavior laid the groundwork for the global journey of our cats today. Now, coming to the time where we domesticated the cats for the second time, our journey shifts to the fertile lands of the Nile, the ancient Egypt. As those cats were slowly getting integrated into human life in the Crescent field area in ancient Egypt, a similar problem arose. The annual flooding of the Nile made these Egyptian agricultural lands very fertile, causing an increase in the grain production. And as the Fertile Crescent area, here also they started storing these in large storage facility, and similar rodent problem came, and cats were helping them reduce the number of rodents. But it is in this time, 3000 years back, that the cats actually reached the revered and domesticated status. The Egyptians, in their keen observation of the natural world, saw in cats not only as an agent who will just reduce the number of rodents, they started seeing them as a friend. They started revering them. They started worshipping them. We see earliest paintings in Egypt where they have decorated cats with jewelries, and some excavations have shown in the Egypt area where the cats were mummified along with their human remains, showing a more intrinsic relationship of these cats with the human beings than in the Fertile Crescent area. The goddess Betest, who was initially inspired from a lioness, slowly changed to a cat-headed god, where she was revered for bringing in protection, agricultural fertility and joy. This period in ancient Egypt was the most significant period where there was changes in cats' behavioral and physical traits. Through selective breeding, though not entirely conscious, these Egyptians started breeding more cats which were more docile, more companionable and more aesthetically pleasing. These cats are the ones which resemble our domesticated cats today more closer than their Fertile Crescent ancestors. Genetic studies have proved that our domesticated cats have come from this lineage. Now, how these cats spread globally? So, seafaring merchants from Egypt had to store grains to cook when they were going in the ship. So the same rodent problem arose in ships also. So these cats, being more docile and having a newly established revered status, became a new friend of merchants traveling in these ships, and eventually they spread globally. Why did the second domestication, which occurred in ancient Egypt 3000 years back, had a more profound impact than the first domestication which occurred in the Fertile Crescent 10,000 years back? This is because in Egypt, cats were integrated in every aspect of their life. From farming to religion, cats were revered and worshipped. And through a non-conscious selective breeding, these cats became less docile, more companionable, and they were more friendly and aesthetically pleasing. Because of which the sea merchants storing grains in their boats for their food supply had the rodent problem. Taking these cats with them reduced the rodent problems. The Phoenicians and Romans, seeing the advantage of cats on ships reducing the rodent problem, they also started taking these cats into their ships, making the spread of the cats globally more easier. How did scientists found out that we domesticated cat twice? DNA evidence have shown that all domesticated cats have a common genetic ancestor, the African wild cats. The less friendlier ones arise from the Fertile Crescent 10,000 years back, and the more friendly and more companionable ones have their ancient ancestors from the Egypt. From the dusty granaries of Fertile Crescent to the temples in ancient Egypt, the story of the domestication of cats is an extraordinary evolutionary journey. It is a theory of natural selection, human need and cultural reverence. The next time you see cats curling up on your lap, do realize these cats were once freely roaming in the wild, ready to attack humans. Do like, share and subscribe me for more interesting videos like this.